what you do with those opportunities is up to you.
Were there ever conversations with Dallin about maybe did you get to talk to him about staying in this program, given the fact that Miami's coming back,
He's been good, and you hear all the stuff out there, in the social media world, and you hear a lot of stuff out there. But at the core of it, I think we got enough relationship with the players that we can have open conversation with them and the parents. Say, okay, here's where we're at, what you're thinking. So he's been fine.
There's always a talk about parents, but you got Chip there. Is Chip going to stay in your room?
He is.
Okay, so you've got 5 guys that are legitimate guys. That's obviously a good thing to have. It can be something you have to deal with. How do you want to deal with it?
Well, again, I think it's open conversations with guys and finding scenarios and situations where guys can perform, where guys they kind of have their niche and things that they can do. Because at the end of the day, trying to put your best 11 players on the field, right? And so we've got to find ways to get guys on the field that can help us win games, and that means that you have certain packages or different things that you can present and do for us, and then we'll use that accordingly.
Where's Trey this weekend?
He's doing great. From all indicators from me, he's been doing great. So, yeah.
Ryan said there's not going to be a spring. You have to do those 7, I guess, which is do you expect him to be healthy?
Well, that's between him and the doctors. But he'll be back for the summer. If he can't do stuff in the spring, if he cannot, then he'll definitely be ready by the summer.
I'm sorry for your is Chip staying with you guys?
He is, yes, sir. Yep. He's going to stick along with us, and so that's good. It's a good play.
How did those conversations go? I guess like mid-year last year, when he did come over with you guys, and then all of a sudden he's going to be kind of the guy who carries the load for you.
Yeah, Chip is a consummate team guy, and he just wanted to play, and he felt like he could help us kind of in our situation that we were in, and kind of depleted of bodies, if you will, and he obviously had played the position at a high level, and so again, Chip was a consummate player. He just wanted to play, and he said, if I can go over there and help the football team, then coach, I'm all in, and so I've known Chip a long time. The recruiting process goes way back, but it helped. He'll help us out when needed.
I know every year we ask you a version of how you're going to get all these guys touches. I'm going to try to ask
every year I tell you the same thing.
You do. I'm trying to approach it a different way. Just going through what you went through last year and having to be a little bit patchwork at times. Can you envision a scenario where you try to spread those touches out, not just to make guys happy, but to kind of get everybody to the finish line so that you're at full strength?
Yeah, I think they all would have played last year anyway. Right now, Chip probably wouldn't have had to come over.
Right.
Chip probably wouldn't have had to come over, mind you. But those guys would have all ended up playing anyway. Now, how many carries or things like that, I don't have a crystal ball there, but and like I say all the time, that'll be dictated how the season's going and health and kind of where we're at and things like that. But I'd envision, now down, going into the season, did you envision that he would have gotten as many carries? No, but then the carries he got, he performed and did a nice job for us. And so you just go to practice every day and you prepare him the best you can because you don't know what's coming. And I can appreciate you saying all the things that I went through. It's not I didn't go, our team went through.
Yeah.
And I said this back during the bowl press conference. The whole deal for me was really trying to keep my players in that room, the emotions together, because that's frustrating. It's not just frustrating for coaches, but it's frustrating for them. They're highly competitive guys, and for them not to be able to go out and perform the way they'd like to perform for whatever the reasons, that gets frustrating for them too. And so really, it wasn't about me; it was about them, and trying to keep their frustration levels in check, if you will.
For Dallin, how do you build off of what he was able to do as a freshman?
Well, I think hopefully it builds his confidence. He and I had a conversation just yesterday, actually, about just him building his confidence and in eliminating the noise around him. Because you turn on social media. That's what Dallin's thinking this and Dallin's doing that. Well, Dallin, where are we at here, right? And so Dallin's going to be an excellent football player for us, and I think hopefully him having the year that he had, hopefully this will be impetus for him to really gain some confidence as we move into the spring. He's never been through an off season. He's never been through a spring, so this is still all new uncharted waters for him as well. But he's walking around with a different demeanor than he did early in the season. Much more confident and secure with who he is, kind of in his own skin. And so that's been fun to watch his maturation. But that's kind of what you expect and hope for. But then he comes from a home where, where Aaron and Jatoya are going to be very in tune to, okay, what are you thinking? What are you doing? How are you doing it? What's the next step? So he comes from a background like that as well.
Is Xavier going to be with you guys, do you think?
No, he's been better too.
Ken, I know Ryan just said Evan's not going to be a participant in the spring, but just sort of envisioning ahead for Evan, is he a guy who can do some of the stuff that you did with X when he was like coming?
I would like to think so. Yeah, absolutely. Would like to think so, and the time will tell. He's a guy that we have always felt was going to have a integral part in our offense. And going into the season, we thought that, especially coming off the spring that he had a year ago. So hopefully he's going to be able to propel and move that forward and do the things that we fully anticipate he can do. But the direct answer, yeah.
When you have a player like you had in the Peach Bowl who says, hey, coach, I'm going to sit out for whatever reason, whether it be injury, whether it be draft.
Who said that? Who said in the Peach Bowl said he was going to sit out?
Travion sat out for his injury, recovering that. But when you have a player who will be unavailable, who has been such a big part of what you do, how does that change your preparation for that? How do you keep them included in this is what we're focusing as a running game, even knowing that they won't be able to directly institute that in the game?
Well, as far as the personnel wise, all of our players are coached and taught our offense and to be able to perform the duties of our offense. It's not like, well, he can only do this and he can only do. We want to teach guys, and hopefully we want our players to be three down back if they can play it in all different situations. Now, some may be better at, more adept than someone else at maybe certain things, but they all can perform, right? And as far as keeping a guy engaged, I guess if that's what you're asking, how do you keep a guy engaged?
Yeah, I just know there are some programs that say like, okay, you're injured, we're going to focus you more on, you go wherever you need to rehab it, you go to your athletic trainer, you spend time like that, not necessarily with the team as much as somebody who's actually playing in full go. How do you balance that in terms of, we need to make this adjustment, we're going to take this going forward? How do you make sure that they are a part of that and learn that?
Yeah, again, they still have to stay engaged in what we're doing. And yeah, they did. Trey spent a lot more time with the trainers than he generally would, but he's still in meetings and still engaged with what we were doing and still being an integral part of it. And so you have to help them keep them engaged, that keep them involved in the meeting. Still ask them questions. Now, it might not be all the questions like it may have been if he was actually playing, but they're still engaged, and they're still a part of this team and a part of this family, a part of this unit. Because I think when they get disjointed and kind of off on their own, that's when you start to see problems, because they feel like, well, I'm not involved, I'm not a part of anything anymore. And so you got to be creative in how you keep them involved in the way that I've done it, we have done it. Those kids still come to meetings, they still do everything that we do. And because he's still a part of it. And it's not like you're banished to Siberia and never coming back. So you still have to stay engaged, because when you do get back, we're not going to try to have to reteach it and the things that we're doing. So stay engaged. And for someone like Trey, who played a lot of ball, obviously, he can be a great help for Dallin and guys like that.
In what ways did he do that preparing for
like I said, he was right there in the meetings and talking him through stuff at practice and talking through things. So he was right there in his corner and helping him out.
And then when you get players like Chip Trainum, who comes over from the defensive side, and you get Xavier, who is moving in a little bit from wide receiver to running back. Of course, that was a need-based thing. You just said it wasn't going to be a permanent change. Do you view that as a fun little challenge to get them set up in a running back, or to teach them? Of course, they all have their own different running back experience going in, but do you view that as a challenge to kind of shape somebody into a running back who might not have been previously?
Well, I think it's just, again, I guess I don't look at it as a challenge. I look at it as a necessity, right? This is what we got to go do, and I think it speaks volumes about guys like Xavier and Chip, for that matter, that are team guys that want to help the team. And okay, well, it's my job if we're going to put you back here, you got to be able to perform the duties at a high level. So whatever it takes, whatever time it takes to get you ramped up, then that's what we got to go do, and they've got to grab and latch onto that as well. But yeah, it's what it is.
And then last thing for me, what does it say to you about a player who sees that need, who knows that need to step up and fill in that spot, and they say, I got it, I'm ready to learn whatever.
Well, that's the type of people you want to be around, right? They're the problem solvers. Guys that say, we have an issue, how can I, it's not moan and groan and bitch about the problem, but how do we fix it? And they want to be a part of the solution. Guys that are consummate team players that are very selfless, and I think we have a bunch of those in our locker room. I think our locker room is littered with those type of guys. Henceforth, we talk about that brotherhood, if you will, that you hear us throw around that term a lot. It's real, and it's guys like that show that they'll do whatever is necessary to help our football team win. You know, you watch Xavier. Xavier's played offense. He's played defense. He's a stalwart on special teams. He's played numerous positions in the middle of games, middle of seasons. It doesn't matter. He's the guy that just keeps giving all he's got. Chip does the same type of thing. So those are the type of young people you want to be around.
Why did Chip?
Last question right here.
Why did Chip ultimately decide to stay running back?
You'd have to ask him. I think he actually feels that that's probably his natural position. And that's always what he wanted to be, even when we were recruiting him out of high school before he went to Arizona State. But he'd have to tell you that. But I bet you that's what he would say to you. And I love having him in our room. He brings so much. He's mature, again, team guy, very positive. You know, a very positive leadership that he brings out. And so I love that about him, and he knows that because I've told him as such. And to continue to do that and provide that for our football team.
Do you worry at all about confidence with Travion? I know this wasn't the year he wanted. Injuries obviously played part of it. But going into next season, is there any? You talked about guys building like Dallin building confidence because of what happened. Is there anything?
Well, I think when Trey's got to get back out and start playing again, and that confidence will come back. Trey's a very confident guy, and he's a very goal-oriented guy. And I know it lack of a better term, it bothered him greatly not to be able to play perform at a high level. I don't know about his cover. I know he'll use that as a motivation. Just knowing a young guy like I do, you know, he'll use that as great motivation to come back. And you know, the biggest thing we got to guard against with him, me knowing I got to guard against with him, is making sure that he's taking the time that he needs to take, that the doctor's telling him not trying to do too much too fast and set himself back. Because he's ready to go. I mean, he's very excited to be, kind of get going again. And again, since we've been off the road recruiting, we've had these meetings with the players the past 48 hours, just really spending a lot of individual time with each guy, 9 of them, which is unusual, but spending some individual time with each of them about, okay, here's where we're at. But I do that anyway. A lot of his phone calls when I was gone, because I'm try to stay very in tune to my guys individually about what's going on in their lives and going on in their heart and soul, what they're thinking and things of that nature. So